The aforementioned. I can't say that, actually. The aforementioned anything.
No, we mentioned it during break.
No, we didn't.
Dion. During break.
The legend. Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah, there you go. One of the pioneers of Detroit Lions YouTube. I was thinking about this earlier today, Dion, on my way in. You should, like, the Lions organization show you a lot more love, to be honest with you. Like, you were one of the first, the most consistent. You also represent them, like, everywhere. You see you're on Bleacher Report. You're on the Believe podcast. You're representing us in the, what was that thing you do during the week with the rest of the NFC North guys? What was it even called?
Yeah, the NFC North Roundtable.
Yeah, you're everywhere. Repping Detroit Lions. You need some, like, free tickets or something, some free gears, something.
You know, they hooked me up a few years ago. You know, I got this little thing back here, this Dose of Dion thing. They hooked me up a few years ago. They gave me a little care package. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate them forever for that, man. I'm all good. I enjoy watching.
Just okay. All right. I'm just saying. All right, man. We were talking about it before you got on. I'm kind of excited to hear your opinion on this matter, too. Obviously, the Eagles and Commanders played last night. Who was the biggest threat to the Detroit Lions in the NFC right now?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I heard you guys talking about the Eagles. So, you know, for me, I think personnel-wise, it feels like the Eagles. But I feel like the Eagles are so – I just don't think they have any creativity offensively. Like, I feel like they give teams problems based on what they have offensively. They kind of just lean heavy Saquon when things get a little bit rough. We're just going to run Saquon downhill over and over. We'll do some run-pass options out of it. But there just feels like such a lack of creativity in what they do offensively. And I think if they met up with a team like us that can really match them across all three levels, it just wouldn't look the same. I don't think we'd blow them out, kind of like Easy said, but I don't think they'd look like they typically do. So Philly doesn't concern me a ton, but I feel like they are the most likely team to get to the NFC Championship game outside of the Lions. The other team, I'd probably still keep Washington up there just because I think Jaden Daniels adds, and I feel like when you watch Washington, man, they come in with surprises each game. They got a little bit of like, they don't care, man. They're fearless. Like them going for that fourth down to me made no sense at all. But it was also just like, hey, this is a young team that doesn't really care. They're going to go take a swing on Lattimore. That's the type of team that's dangerous in a one-game win-or-go-home type of scenario. So for me, I'd say I feel more worried about Washington than I do Philadelphia. But I think Philadelphia has a better shot to get into that game with the Lions.
Okay, I didn't expect to hear that. So you still think the Commanders are a bigger threat just because of what, the surprise factor?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more creativity with what they do. I think Jaden Daniels adds a more dynamic element, and I love Dan Quinn a lot more defensively. Like, I think that the personnel is much better right now for Philadelphia, and Vic Fangio adds to that, but I think we've seen that we can handle it. I think what Washington has been able to do and their willingness to – they'd be a team that would come at you with a fake punt, you know, in that type of game that would try to swing something in their favor. That, I think, becomes the difference in a one-game series.
And looking at something we've been talking about all week here, it's been all over every show on Woodward. Different people have been talking about it around the city. Who do you think is the better coordinator this season? Ooh. When you look at, like, obviously don't take the whole careers in it. Just this season in a vacuum, Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn?
Man, I feel like this is disrespectful to whoever
it does.
That's a crazy question.
Can I put a disclaimer real quick? Like, because people, it feels like you're shitting on the other guy when you pick one. They're both fantastic. Yeah. They're both top flight, one of the best coordinators in their respective position in the NFL.
I got you. Okay, we should show some love to Dave Phipp, though, because that special teams unit, bro, that thing's outstanding on all levels. Jake Bates is cooking, so I'll give Dave Phipp a little love there. That dude he's a little bit scary, too. Like, I can see how Dave Phipp will get you to lock in. That being said, though, for me, I have to go Aaron Glenn, bro. I got to go Aaron Glenn this season. And it's just because now the question always was what happens when we start adding the pieces that, like, he wants to this defense. Yeah. And we've seen him adjust to what he has year after year. Now he has the pieces that he likes defensively. And every game, he just has something unique for each opponent. Like, he has what he wants to get to, and he has something unique. He's showing these match looks that he wasn't doing before against Green Bay to just have something different for that team. So I think Aaron Glenn's kind of added to the creativity element this season. We're seeing that expand so much. And I think it's because he has such a foundation that he can lean into. But, man, you went 4 weeks without Hutchinson. That was supposed to be a big problem. The Lions are actually on the season creating more pressure, depending on who you're looking at statistically, with Aiden Hutchinson off the field than with him on the field. Now, they're blitzing more in that side, in that perspective, but they're creating like a 5% more pressure rate when Hutchinson's not even on the field. So I give a lot of to Aaron Glenn, man. He's been super creative this year, and they look awesome.
Yeah, I saw it last week. We went from like 30% to like 35%.
Yeah, that's what it was for me. It's like that's the ultimate boom. It's Aaron Glenn. This team is without its MVP, and they're still a top 10, top 8 defense. If the offense lost Penei Sewell or Jared Goff for the entire season, they would not be anywhere near what they are right now.
Man, well, and then the last thing to that defensively, situationally, right? Like, situationally, they're the best in football in a lot of categories.
Yes.
Like, red zone, third down, they're top 10, top 5. They're fantastic in everything situationally. So, again, I think a lot of that comes back to coaching. It's having the pieces to be able to do what he does, but at the same time, man, like, he's got these guys playing really fast. So, I have to lean Aaron Glenn. I think that's a good point. It's a little bit unfair because, quarterback versus defensive end, there's a different balance there, but I understand what you're saying completely.
Yeah, like, if you lost, God forbid, Penei Sewell for the whole season.
Stop. What are we doing?
That's
You got your point across. Stop saying that.
That's you said this twice, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm going to punch you next time you say it.
Is it 3 times cancels out or twice?
No,
cancels
just
out?
stop saying it. Jesus, man. Golly. All right.
But what about
you got me there, guys. That's freaking me out now. All right, let's rewind. You talked about the performance of Jared Goff. 5 interceptions last time out. He was the MVP candidate beforehand. What are the conversations now? I know you and I had a discussion yesterday. I don't know if we had it while we were recording or on air. Is Jared Goff still a finalist for this year's MVP?
Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he's going to win the MVP. I don't really see a great path for him to do it either. I think the big thing for Goff is the best chance he'll have is he hasn't really had like that 4-touchdown game this season where like his numbers get kind of crazy and you're like, whoa, what the heck? And maybe some of that is like, we've seen it, like his 29 touchdowns. You get some like goofy touchdowns where, like the Swift had one where he like picked himself off the ground and scores a touchdown. It still counts for Goff. He hasn't had that, so maybe a couple of those are on the way and that could get him back in that conversation. But for me right now, the best path for him is Lamar Jackson loses this weekend. They drop to 7-4. They have a really tough remaining schedule if you look at it. And if that's a team that wins 10 games this season and the Lions are over here winning 15 games, and then you kind of put that balance between, okay, if we're not giving it to either of the Ravens, who are clearly the two, then it's like, well, maybe Mahomes is back in that conversation. Mahomes stats aren't going to blow away Jared Goff. So that's how he gets himself back into this. But if I was a betting man, I'd say I don't think that it happens. I would not put money on Goff at this point. But I think that's the path, is the Ravens lose this weekend and they don't end up with a good enough record to potentially give one of those two guys the award.
Looking at another guy on this team that has aspirations to get an end of the season award, Brian Branch has been one of the best defensive players in the NFL all season long. What's the stat called? Chaos rate?
Yeah.
His chaos rate is like twice as high as the next guy. And chaos, if you don't know, it's any play that results in a loss for the offense. So a tackle for loss, a sack, a pass breakup, an interception, forced fumble, any of those kind of game-changing plays. Does Brian Branch have a legitimate chance at Defensive Player of the Year, or are they just going to give it to an edge rusher?
Yeah, no, I think he does, because who would be that edge rusher? Like, for me, Brian Branch, and I think I told Easy this, but to me, this is a Hall of Fame player. Like, Brian Branch is legitimately like a Hall of Famer when you watch it. I don't know all the safeties that are in the Hall of Fame, but this dude is absolutely incredible. And maybe it's just a Lions fans thing that we understand it more, but now he's got the interceptions to go along with it, where it's like the numbers are also on his side. And yeah, I didn't even know about the dang chaos rate, so maybe that's something. We got to point that out. Chaos.
Havoc rate
That's
is what it was.
insane.
Yeah.
Not chaos.
Percentage of plays.
Sorry.
It's percentage of plays that result in sacks, fumble or forced fumbles, interceptions, tackles for loss, and passes defended. And Brian Branch ranks number 1 in the NFL currently.
And it's like a wide margin.
By a wide margin.
Dude. He looks like the best player on the field in whatever situation you put him in. Like, he doesn't feel like he has any weaknesses. And I also think he brings the strengths out of Kirby so much, man, because having that flexibility to just put him on a receiver and it's like, actually, that might be our best matchup on defense is insane. Like, you would think, like, okay, hopefully he's not a liability here. Maybe they won't go after this guy. When he's out there in coverage, you're like, probably go to somebody else. You probably shouldn't throw it to that guy. That's how I feel every time. He's gotten to the point where he's boring defensively. He's like St. Brown on defense. You just expect him to catch passes that he probably shouldn't. He just does that left and right. So whenever something goes wrong, I don't even feel like it's like, Branch, what were you doing? It's like, what the heck was a ref call in there? I don't even know, because he's just that good. Yeah, Brian Branch, absolutely Defensive Player of the Year, absolutely on his way to being a Hall of Fame type of player.
We're looking at the schedule the remainder of the year, and what I talked about after the Houston game, it's hard for me to pick out a game they're going to lose. If you go on the road, beat a first-place team, and turn the ball over 5 times, and you still win, what game are you going to lose? Like, is there a realistic possibility that they win out the rest of the year? I know it's crazy.
No, I don't think it is, because you know how they say, like, okay, this team versus the field? If it was Lions going undefeated versus or winning out versus not winning out, I'd bet 100% on Lions winning out. Now, that being said, I was asked what 2 teams would stay. For me, the team that stands out is still at Chicago. I understand they're not doing well right now. I don't even think they're going to beat Green Bay this weekend, but I still think that game, December 22nd. The weather's probably going to be ugly as heck. And they just have a good enough defense where I don't think we'll be able to pull away. So they'll just kind of hang around. And maybe something dumb happens and they end up winning that game. So I'd say at Chicago still concerns me. And then, of course, you still got Buffalo hanging out there. And Buffalo, like, as many issues as they may have, they do have a great defensive line. If their cornerback position is healthy and Josh Allen's healthy, which he really wasn't last time we faced them, that's a team with Amari Cooper. Like, it just depends on where their health is at. They're not there right now. But if they get there by that time, that's still a team that Allen he can kind of just change a game on his own. So those are the two. I think the Bills stand out the most, but I think Chicago could still get us.
What's been your take on that? The Caleb Williams stuff. It's kind of caught me by surprise. Like, he's been – like, I don't think it's just coaching. I think coaching obviously is a big part of it. I think they can determine a lot of things. But, like, he's been also fairly inaccurate on like open throws. He has 2 number 1 wide receivers plus Rome Odunze, who hasn't looked the part. What's going on in Chicago in your eyes?
Yeah, it's weird. They look weird. Well, I say the biggest issue, and it goes back to last week. I think they were 1 of 14 on third down. When you watch this team, man, like there's things to like. You get some beautiful throws from Caleb. You see all the arm talent, and they've kind of found a little bit of a run game recently. Their offensive line's been in shambles, but they started to kind of figure that out a little bit. They moved off Davis, who they were paying good money to. So it seems like they kind of have some type of answer there, like they're trying to figure it out at least serviceably. The issue feels like, and we know all the numbers of him holding onto the football, they just don't seem to have any good answers for him when it gets to third down. I don't think they're doing a good job of presenting answers for him on third down. And then obviously he looks completely unsure of himself even when the routes are there. It's a weird mesh. They got to find a way to like get back to concepts that just seemingly make him comfortable. And I think in those must-have it downs, it shows up the most because there's now no threat of them running the ball. There becomes less play action. It's just him standing there and having to throw it to somebody. And he just feels so hesitant. He's not throwing any there's no turnover-worthy plays that are happening recently. This guy is not like pushing the action whatsoever to throw the football in the last few weeks. And I think for whatever reason, maybe a new voice helps him there. You just got to kind of unleash a little bit. Give him something that makes him feel comfortable. I thought that's what started the winning streak. But on third down, I think says it all. You're awful situationally. He's not willing to throw into these tight windows. And I don't know if that's something that's just going to stay forever. I kind of hope it does as a Lions fan. You know, no hate to Caleb.
Well, you
great.
Be mad.
But
be mad.
Yeah, you wouldn't be mad at it. But I think that maybe the new voice will actually help them.
And looking at that, what do you make of the rumors that Ben Johnson wanted that job in Chicago, but they stuck with Eberflus?
Not true.
Hey.
Completely false.
Well, I don't. Look, I'll say this. The Bears played themselves. They absolutely played. Because now I look at it like, bro, the Bears, I don't think he'd want to go there now. I could be wrong.
No.
I don't think he'd want to. The situation makes so much sense for Ben Johnson. One, this team has given them fits when he's played them. So it's like, all right, let's go to that team. Now I don't have to face them anymore. And number two, it's like, bro, my defense is already here. I got top quarterback. I'll take whoever I want. That would have been a beautiful situation that was kind of laid out for him to go do that. But now that they have it and now that they've selected Caleb, I don't know. Would he have taken Caleb on? He may not have. He may have liked someone else at quarterback, right? There's a real chance that he may have liked Jaden Daniels more. Am I saying that? He may have. So I think that based on the fact that they've kind of already invested, but they kind of overlapped it with like a new, like, hey, we're bringing the coaches back and there's some love there. I think they messed up. I could understand him wanting to go to that situation, but I think they messed up, and I think Ben is very willing to be patient on the right situation. I think that could have presented itself versus a guy like Aaron Glenn, who I think is just looking for that opportunity, and that's why I think there's a real chance that Ben just continues to come back until something wide open opens up, and he may never leave. I don't know, but I think Aaron Glenn, like,
don't
if he had
like that,
if he got an opportunity, hey, I think it's on the table. I think if Aaron Glenn gets a head coaching offer, he'd go. I don't think Ben Johnson is going anywhere.
Going right off of that, I want to ask you: Do you think that there's any regret he has looking back at not taking that Commander's job?
No, I don't think so, man. Because he's about to go win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like that's I feel like I think he was right when he said what he said during the offseason of kind of like looking at the situation of like, man, there's so much craziness that could go on, and there was a lot. There was a new ownership. There was a whole bunch of newness. Like, I'm in a good spot right here, right? Not all the attention's on me, and who knows? Maybe he doesn't even have the personality to be a head coach. Maybe he's not in love with the idea of what that would mean and pull him away from his passion. Maybe his passion is just play designs, being creative, and you start to lose some of that because now there gets thrown more on your plate, and he doesn't want to deal with all that. It's possible. I'm not speaking for him, but it's possible. So I think for him, a year like this, or over anything in a year where you can go win the Super Bowl, maybe opens your eyes a little bit of like, man, maybe the grass isn't always greener, man. I see what's going on in Chicago right now. Maybe that wouldn't have been the best spot for me to go. Maybe it wouldn't have made sense for me to leave. So I think it's very good that he's patient because offensive coaches are always going to have a market, and especially when you're winning like this, that market's going nowhere.
All right, Dion, let's look forward to this Sunday. Let's preview this game. Has it gotten a lot of love this week? Numbers are down across the board. I'm sure you see as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars, is there anywhere they can threaten us? Hope? What's your biggest concern about the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into this matchup?
Here's where I think Jacksonville's got a problem, and this is kind of how I noted it today. From what I've went through so far, I think Jacksonville has a problem is they don't have a foundation of what they do offensively. They don't feel like they have something that they can lean on offensively. Now, ETN's going to be the guy, no take Bigsby. They just don't feel like they have something they're like, oh, this is what we're going to do now. And some of that's Mac Jones stepping in, but you even see it in some of their pass plays, man. It just feels like everything's kind of Hey, and look, Mac Jones had a couple good drives. Like, there was something there, and then I didn't even think Mac Jones was making, like, completely awful decisions for the entire game. I thought he actually did some good things in terms of, like, oh, he could stay in the pocket and deliver the ball. But they don't seem to know who their number – bro, they don't know who their number one receiver is. Evan Ingram feels like the number one receiver when you watch that team. They don't know who that is. There's no, like, we know what we're going to get to when in doubt. And I think that's the issue on offense. And defensively, I think they actually have a really tough defense. They're just on the field all the time. Like, defensively, they are not bad, especially when they have a really good defensive front that's pretty loaded that, you know, seems like teams could take advantage because the interior is a mess. So, at very least, every team has been able to get back to, let's just run on this team. They can't stop the run. And that feels like their problem is they just have no answers downhill, and they're young at linebacker, and they feel like everything's going fast. But in the back end, they're healthy right now. Their safety position will take the ball away, and they do a really good – I mean, they make you throw tight window throws, man. They don't give you a lot of just openings. They don't give you a lot of spots in zone coverage to just sit guys down. And so I think they're going to challenge us on the outside. It's just one of the things when you have, like, no stability in terms of what you're going to be offensively, and then you flip it around with everything feels fast for you to try to stop the run. I just think it gets out of hand versus most. There's not many teams in the league that you're going to be able to hang with when you can't do the basics well.
Could you see this being a bounce-back game for Jared Goff after last week? Like, because you're speaking highly of the defense. I do like what they have as pass rushing, but they also left the most time to throw. Like, can JG insert himself back to the MVP conversation after today, or this game?
And Lomas Brown on Lions Nation Unite said this before Ben Johnson even said it in his press conference. He said he feels like the offense is going to be pissed off that the special teams and the defense have been performing so well, and they're gonna try to get their lick back. And Ben Johnson said the offense needs to pull their weight.
Man, I think the big thing for Jared Goff to do that and why it could happen is because last week when everything was going horribly wrong, he never felt gun shy. And I think when you watch Jacksonville, you're going to have a run game behind you all game long. I think he's going to throw in very opportunistic situations a lot of the game, which is going to help him. And as long as he's willing to play the same way he did last week, where he's just letting things rip and it's like tight coverage, I don't care, my guy's going to win. That'll lead to the big game because, again, I don't think they're going to give you just a ton of openings in coverage. They're going to make you work for these throws. But I think as long as Goff comes to mindset like he showed last week where, like, my guy's going to win, I trust him to win, that's how he has a big game in a game like this. And it's playing on top of the chains, which I think they can for a majority of this game. And whenever that's the case with Goff, at very worst, he's going to check the ball down and pick up some yards. So I think that he'll be incredibly efficient in this game. And if that means getting him back to having a big game, I think that's how that happens. It'll be a lot of play-action shot plays that get him rolling.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's his bread and butter. That's what they eat. And to be honest with you, same coaching staff 2 years ago beat the shit out of them. As actually, I think the first blowout in Dan Campbell's resume was against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mm-hmm. Man,
James Houston almost killed Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that was bad.
Alligator ankle, dude, or a little ankle alligator. James Houston, man, he likes to roll up on those ankles a little bit. He's a little dirty when he comes to it. But speaking of which, before we get you out of here, I do want to get your take on him. It just popped into my head. The little ankle alligator himself, James Houston, poopy pants, the problem. Do you expect him to continue that type of play? Do you expect this game to be something that projects him forward to kind of finish this season like he did his rookie year? Because he played great, even through the shit, through all the grime. He played a great game.
Yeah, man. The problem nickname is just it. You know, I didn't even know that was a thing. To be honest, like that was a situation during the game. And then I'm seeing the clips like, oh man, this is. But honestly, bro, you give it to him because you know that's uncomfortable, dog. For sure, you know that's so uncomfortable. And he's out there working those.
If you get 2 sacks, do it again. Do it again. Like, what do you mean?
Okay,
if that's the secret sauce, do it every week. I don't care.
Some sort of sauce. I don't know if any teammates enjoy that.
You know how, like, some like sack specialists, they got like design cellies.
Yeah.
James uses his shit in his pants. Sack of quarterbacks. Everyone's like, yeah, in the crowd.
Oh man. The problem had an accident, but it's fine.
The problem had a problem.
Dog, I don't even remember what the question was. I'll be honest with you.
Terrible.
Wait.
Do you think
it was just
on the streak, not the poop streak, but on the streak?
Look, man, I'll say this. Just aside, I think Za'Darius is going to cook in this game. I really do. Like it just depends on how many snaps he gets, but like Walker Little can't deal with power. I feel like Harrison's been okay, but he'll probably see a lot of Anton, so that could open up like Walker Little having to deal with like this little dude that can like duck underneath him. And I thought that was the issue with the Texans is they got some big offensive tackles, man, and Houston's just super unique. So like it's like, oh man, he can kind of get underneath me a little bit. And I think Houston just has certain games where it's like that's not a good matchup because that tackle's just too tall and too like he's just too robotic with it. Walker Little could have that same problem in this game. I could see that being the case. And as long as Za'Darius is kind of doing some work on Anton Harrison, because I think he's going to have a massive game, yeah, maybe James Houston gets another attack. Look, Mac Jones can't really go anywhere, but he did have some scrambles last week. Like, I was surprised. Like, oh, Mac is moving a little bit. So, James Houston, it's kind of getting back to what he was doing in the preseason, right? Like, the preseason, he looked like the best pass rusher for us. So, I don't know. I love the fact that they haven't given up on him. They've continued to give him opportunities. So, he'll be kind of just, I think, the specialist at some point here. But that's okay. That's fine role.
Fine.
We need that.
He shines brightest when the lights are
All
on.
right.
That's for sure. Dion, we appreciate you so much as always joining the show, man. Your knowledge is always welcome. We got to get you on more, brother. Before we let you go, you got so much going on. Tell the people where they can hear more from you, especially when it comes to the Lions.
First off, Spence, I was going to say that jacket is fire, dog. I just noticed that thing is clean, dude.
Thank
I
you.
see you. Man, I think Easy hit on it all, man. We got Bleacher Report popping off next week. A Wednesday, we got our weekly picks Wednesdays, man. I got shows on Wednesdays. We got post game shows, but then also
Tell them about Thursdays.
Shoot,
What do you do on Thursdays?
oh yeah, over there on Lions Nation Unite, man. I kind of have to carry the show a little bit because Easy's there, but honestly, man, like if you guys just skip, yeah, man, check us out, man. Our preview shows, man, they're a blast. They're kind of a mess too, but it's great. It's fantastic.
It's awesome. Dion, appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate y'all.
Have a good weekend, sir.